Hey there, B-Siders. Welcome to another episode of Bravo for the B-Side. This is Danny.
And this is Jim.
And today, special episode. I think it's our first of the year, our first interview of the year. Am I wrong?
Since coming back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have got with us today the incredible David Ryan Keith, one of our favorite people.
Hello.
Hello,
David.
I'm back.
Welcome back. B-Siders, if it's been a little while, because it probably has, David is the writer, director, everythinger for the Redwood Massacre, Ghosts of Darkness, Redwood Massacre, Annihilation, and the two newer movies, I Am Rage and Primal Game, just in the last couple of years. Primal Games came out this year.
Yes, it came out on May 6th.
Yes.
Not that many people would know that, but yes, it's out.
Oh, well, let's start with Primal Games, because we have talked about this multiple times on the show. The journey of this, you sent us the script when it was really fresh, and we read through it and everything. But this particular one you sold to someone, and it somehow came back to you to make. And let's talk about that journey, because this is really, I mean, it's kind of awesome.
I completely forgot about that, actually. It started off as the first ever script I wrote to try and sell to someone else. So it wasn't like doing an indie movie. I would just type, there's explosions, and because I knew I would never make it. And it made its way to one of our producers that was making bigger movies at the time. And he got interest from a writer, the guy who did the Michael Bay movie, The Island.
Okay.
And it was moving along. It got to the point where they were going to get rid of me. They were going to option the script, by the sounds of it, get rid of me, redo they liked the concept, not necessarily the script. And it was going to have a big martial artist attached. And then COVID happened, and it died. So I kind of forgot about it for a couple of years. And then after kind of COVID settled down, we started pitching movies again. And Primal Games was just one of, I think, 3 movies I pitched.
Mm-hmm.
And the distributor, that's the one he picked. So it was kind of like a mad rush to squeeze the movie back down to indie film we could actually film.
Okay.
On like $250,000 as opposed to, I think it was like $5 million they were talking about, which is still low budget for the bigger movie, but it's big difference for some, when you're squeezing that into an indie film.
We talk budget numbers too, because there's ones out there, 5,000, 50,000. I mean, it's all over the place, and a lot of people who self-finance, a lot of stuff that we've seen are like first features for some of these folks. And I don't think the budget's accurate, because I don't think they actually track how much money they put in, because we know like our other friends, Cliff and Marty and Jeff, with their films in the beginning, it's out of pocket. You're paying for stuff, and you don't put it in a ledger. And then at the end, they're like, well, I don't know. I think maybe the budget was $6,000, but we spent like 10 or 15, that kind of thing. So it's always kind of hard to get budgets on stuff and understand how much you can do with little bits of money, and the stuff that's just way out of reach, no matter how much you want to try and bring it down.
I mean, we're kind of lucky because we've, throughout our movies, from like 0 budget to medium budget to the last 3 movies are about 250,000, which kind of is the ceiling for like indie movies before you move. It's more of a risk. If you go past 250, it's a risk to get your money back. So we know now, we're pretty good at knowing when we get a budget, what can we actually do for, if someone gave us 50, I'd be like, well, you can't blow up that building. But I'm pretty good at like making the scripts more filmable if that makes sense. So the Primal Games script, because I was just like, oh, spaceships and, da da da. So yeah, it was harder to actually crunch the script down to an indie level than it was to actually write it for a big budget, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah. And this one, I mean, even with the budget you had, you did a lot of CGI in this one. I think more than you've done in your other films.
Yeah. And well, that was the big problem for me when they picked that movie. I was like, oh no, it's going to have CGI. And at indie level movies, that's the killer. So I kind of condensed it down to the most simple effects we could. And even then, at the end in post-production, it was the one thing that still kind of tripped us over. And it's still the one part of the film which really makes it look like an indie film, if you know what I mean. You can't get past the fact that the effects cost us, I can't remember, it's like maybe $5,000 or something. So that's what you get for $5,000, unfortunately.
I don't know. I mean, because when we covered it, there are indie films with CGI that you can tell. This was like they had $40 and they spent 38 of it on a effects pack and tried to make it work. Yours were not like Marvel Studios level where they take 2.5 years with 11,000 engineers putting this stuff together. But it didn't detract, and that's to me the big thing. It fit in, and we had a whole big conversation about blood effects in films, and even years and years ago we talked about it, how it actually made more sense from a safety standpoint, because if you don't need guns that even pretend to fire with muzzle flashes and stuff, you can add those in. And I mean, the costs, you save money doing it this way, but you got to spend more money doing it that way. But we had a big talk about it, that whole thing with the was she the producer or the armorer?
On the movie Rust?
On the Baldwin film where she got shot.
Oh, wow.
That wasn't that long ago, David. I don't know if you heard about it, but
yes.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin on that film.
All of our stunt guys are from Los Angeles, so they know very well about that movie.
But I mean, that was the whole thing, was the amount of energy and safety that you need to put into just putting a squib on somebody just so it can pop, and hopefully you get it in one take. Otherwise you got to do it again and again and again, as compared to adding it digitally. And I mean, I thought it was great. It looked wonderful, and it was so fast moving, the action scenes in this one. I guess I can say it was really good.
There is a mix. There was, I think, Hannah, who had a Glock. They really did have the real muzzle flashes for that.
Okay.
But the problem we were facing, and we even had all the equipment to do from our last films to do the blood effects.
Right.
And it does look better, but it just takes so long. It takes so long to do, and it never ever works first time. And in a film like Primal Games, we just would never been able to have time to do it. And the same with Hannah's gun. It looked cool, but by the time you had to reload it and do this, and and by take 2 it wasn't working. I was just like, listen, we're going to be putting in the digital. As much as it pains me, we're going to put the digital effects in. Let's keep moving.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to get through the day.
And Primal Games was just a pressure cooker for time that honestly, like, all of our good intentions were just kind of like washed away with the bad weather. And it was just like an onslaught of just trying to get through the day. If I'm really honest, it was horrendous what we went through to make the movie.
Well, you did answer a burning question we have had. And so her name is Hannah, and we were not sure if it was Hannah or Hanaj, because you never know. So, Hannah, if you're listening, our deepest apologies. We've apologized multiple times every time the name has been spoken, because we've done it one way and the other. We're like, well, 50-50.
Yeah, well, she did put a J at the end of her name. Everyone says that.
So let's talk about the shooting for Primal Games. So this whole thing went full circle and ended up with you, and it got picked. You got a budget. Was Hannah, because of I Am Rage, was she like a top consideration for you?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. It was such a traumatic shoot. Even the pre-production for the film was just so eventful. But I think when we pitched it, I think the distributor quite liked Hannah from I Am Rage. So, and it just kind of fit her. But it was weird because he was like, she can be in the movie, but she must be blonde. So it was like, okay. But the whole film, it was so rushed. I think I say this every time I speak about my movies. We got the fund. We got half we had to raise half the money, and the distributor would cover the second part. And we started off quite good. We had originally we pitched it to Van Damme's son. He was going to play Ben.
Oh, okay.
So I spent a couple of weeks talking with him, and it didn't work out. He was he wanted to make a kind of different movie, which was fair. And then it went to this guy from Schitt's Creek that was going to invest in the movie. So this is 3 weeks before the shoot. So it was all in place. And then the actor strike.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He pulled out and then obviously had to take his money with him. So we were faced with already spent a lot of our budget, with the locations and all that. And we're shooting in 2 weeks or a week, and we didn't have the money to actually film the film. So it was a crazy mad rush by the producers to raise the rest of the money. So it was really quite stressful. Even up to the point of us turning up with the cast and crew, we were still raising the money to make sure we could actually pay for the film.
Wow.
So at the time, that was our biggest, oh my God, we've made it. We finally got there. We finally got the money. And then we got hit with one of the biggest storms the United Kingdom has had in 30 years. And that went, I think we had 2 days of sun, and then the rest was just red weather warnings.
Oh my gosh.
The entire shoot.
Wow.
And then it just got worse. It just got worse from there. Yeah. But yeah, we've somehow managed to get through it.
Oh, well.
we feel it, because in the last couple of days we've had some hardcore severe weather here, and not like anything I remember growing up. It was, instead of a big storm, it was these pockets of storms that would come through every few minutes, and there was red warnings, and then you're clear, and 2 minutes later, new one. And just wild for 2 days.
Yeah,
I think the biggest thing that hit us because of the storm was the actual amount of daylight we had. So normally I would shoot for about 12 hours for my last film, and then all of a sudden I could only shoot for 6 because it would just get too dark. And that really caused problems, because I was shooting, the schedule was for 12-13 hours, and I was having to shoot everything in 6. So it was. We just had to combine that with the storm and the rain, and we were in all these little log cabins in the middle of nowhere. So it was kind of like Big Brother. We're just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
And every day we'd wake up to the noise of rain, hitting the windows. And you're just like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to make this movie?
Right. So, and then as the director, that's all on your shoulders, pretty much.
It was, it just had such a knock-on effect through all the action, through we were just tearing pages out the script, to be honest, at one point, and that wasn't even the worst of it, if I'm honest. We actually made it through the forest section of the film, and we had organized this huge, big glass, empty building that looked like it was something out of the future to do the last act of the film.
Right.
And we're actually packed up a way to travel, and they called us and said, no, you can't use the building anymore. It's lay dormant for like 4 years, and someone has just bought it, and now they want to charge you like 100 times more.
What?
Wow.
So we made it through the forest, and then we're just like, oh my God, what next? So that's why the movie takes place in the same bunker as some of my other films. We had no choice. We were just like, I laugh about it now, but it was just relentless what was happening to us. The weather, like makeup wasn't working, planes circling us, it was a tough one for everyone.
All the fun stuff when you try to do anything outside of a studio.
It was really like someone was making a documentary about us. That's what it felt like. Like, what else can we do to these poor people?
Well, it came out great.
Oh yeah.
That's the one film I've done where when I finished doing the first cut, I just kind of sat back and was like, I cannot believe there is a movie there. Honestly, every scene was a surprise. I'm like, I can't believe that worked. I can't believe we've got 90-minute film. I thought we were going to end up with like 40, 50 minutes of footage.
But we did it.
That would have still counted as a feature.
I think, yeah. But to be honest, I think I'm cheating because we had to go back for 5 days. I think the storm lasted for like 3 months. It didn't stop raining in Scotland for 3 months.
Wow.
Eventually, we went back for 5 days to pick up as much as we could of some of the scenes we missed. But even then, that cost about £20,000. So that's like, I don't know, $27,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
5
Yeah.
days. So we had to raise that. Producers had to raise that quickly. So it was. I won't forget Primal Games anytime soon.
Well, kind of circling back toward the funding. So I know the funding for this movie was kind of all over the place. How does it compare to how you get funding for your other films? Because I know we have a lot of viewers who ask about funding and stuff a lot, like how do you get started with funding and what, what does that process look like? So I was wondering what that looks like for you and, in comparison to Primal Games and how that went.
Well, the way I do it, and it's not sneaky, but you have to have a film before. So I'll say my last film was I Am Rage. So I'll start the process of raising money just as that's coming out before they can tell if it's going to be a success or not. I'm setting up the next film.
Yeah.
And if that movie bombs, I'm already on to the next one. If you know what I mean? Because you're only as good as your last film. So that's the way I've normally done it. But it's easier for me to get money now, obviously, because I'm older, and it's like that was like my seventh. I've made many movies now, but I can understand how hard it can be for definitely for first-time filmmakers. It's next to impossible to get someone to give you money. And the only reason really they started giving us money is because we were lucky enough to be able to self-finance our own movie, get it released, and have that movie make a lot of money for the distributor. And that's when the doors open.
Okay.
It's like I always try to explain to people, it's filmmaking, but the film business side is like 95%, and the creative side is the 5%. It's essentially like a business like anything else. So you got to really think about the product you're wanting to sell. That's why I make like cheesy, over commercialized movies, like horror, sci-fi, martial arts, because we're trying to hit like a broader audience
Mhm.
I think if I ever made a serious drama film or did the script, they would say no straight away to giving me money.
Is that something you'd want to do, like a serious drama script?
I think I'm too deep into the cheese fantastic movies now. And to be honest, I think that they're quite fun to make.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
if martial art or horror. And actually, sometimes when I am just filming the dialogue, it does get a little bit boring. So it would have if I did ever do like a serious movie, it would have to be I don't know. I think I'd still get bored. I need someone to kick someone in the face or something.
Or slice somebody open, play with stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing though. That I remember when I worked in the industry years ago, and it was so serious. Like the step above indie films, where there's a lot more money involved, and it is really serious business of making films or documentaries. And that was the kind of thing that took me out of there. Was it just wasn't fun? And I grew up, as a kid, making movies should be fun, and I think that's kind of what maybe drawn me to make over commercialized films that are, well, sometimes can be fun to make. It just depends on the weather.
Yeah.
So I want to broach this little subject. So we're watching Primal Games, and to our surprise, showing up on the screen is a little you.
Oh, yeah.
And we looked at each other and we're like, oh, is that David's boy? Because we were trying to do the maths, right? Because last time we talked, he's just this little fellow, and we're like, yeah, it's been a while and stuff. And I'm like, well, look at him. That's definitely his. And I don't think we laughed so
He's
hard.
He's a mini David.
At the whole thing that went on, and then he gives the grenade and he walks in the woods, and we're like, David's not going to blow up a kid on. Yes, he is. So what?
We actually, I think that wasn't in the original script, but we added it in the pickups. So we got him up there, and I think it was my wife. She got him the same costume as the guy being his grand. He's wearing the same version of the costume. But when I told, I think it was the stunt coordinator, he also was one of the producers. I said, I'm going to blow him up. He was so appalled by what I had planned. He thought it would actually hurt the movie. I was like, oh, well, you're not really going to see him being blown apart. But in a weird way, I think it gives the main character a bit of an edge, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, he's really is out for revenge. He's willing to blow up the kids. But he loved it. I mean, he went into school and told his teacher he murdered someone, so they probably phoned the police on me.
What'd you do this weekend? I murdered some guy in the woods.
Yeah, it's hard. Out of context, it sounds really bad what I made him do.
So
it got a really big laugh when we premiered it in America.
Oh, good.
They laughed at it rather than being shocked.
If we hadn't known you and known that he was your son, I mean, it was funny, but it was just the idea of wow, I blew up a kid. That was just so, because I honestly I don't remember it from the first copy that we got. That was not I wasn't even mentioning kids.
It was actually a much more violent scene. I remember, and we had to cut it down because all the effects weren't working, and we just kind of simplified it to that scene where the guy just got his head blown off, which didn't really work in CGI, but it was just one of the many compromises we had to make just to get that film finished, if I'm honest.
So with I Am Rage, that was your first foray out of like strict horror, because we were just coming out of Redwood Massacre and Massacre Annihilation. With Primal Games, though, this was so with I Am Rage, you still had just a handful of cast, right? It was the
Yeah.
primary characters all, conflicting with one another, getting into physical confrontations up until the end. This one, there's a lot more bodies in Primal Games. What was that like for you, going from like an initial action to something where, there's got to be a lot of coordination, the shot setups and everything, because you got literally a lot of pieces moving on the board, and they all have to maintain that energy and that drive as you're going to piece all these things together for this big, combat scene.
Yes, it was. There's maybe about 30 of us up there, and I think that was the same maybe for I Am Rage, but the I Am Rage was, it was more like set fights. They would move here, fight, move somewhere else, fight.
Right.
And for Primal Games, we put aside 3 full days for the big action scene, which was, for us, that's a lot of days to take off an 18-day shoot. And by the end of it, we'd lost about 4 days because of the weather.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the same stunt coordinator as I Am Rage, Chris Torres. And it's a shame he was just up against it. It was the weather was so miserable, and everything just takes a long time, regardless of how battered you're being by the rain. And we just filmed as much as we could, and even then, we didn't even film everything that those guys had choreographed. Every night, those guys would be in their cabins working on the action, and then we'd come out, get hit with rain, have to wait. Or I remember there was a scene where Hannah comes and hits a guy in the head, and then she looks to John, and he looks back to her, and all of that just takes time to shoot. And in the end, we're just gonna have to kind of just shoot whatever we can and cross our fingers. It works. And most of it, to be fair to Chris, it really did work. There was just, in the pickup shots, I only had to go back and just fix some of the continuity, because we were just everywhere. It was a mad, I can only explain it as like a mad orchestra of running about, shooting as quickly as you can, moving on to the next part, shoot as quick as you can until you run out of light. So we really were just chasing the light the whole movie.
Okay.
It was kind of ridiculous. So I kind of feel sad for Chris, because there was a lot of stuff he did that was never kind of realized properly.
Oh,
because we just didn't have the time.
Yeah.
So it would have been a much bigger scene, I think. But on the flip side, you don't normally get to come back and do pickups. So I was able to edit the scene and then add stuff. So it kind of worked out. Yeah, it worked out in a weird way, maybe better, actually.
Nice.
Like all the drone stuff that wasn't in, that got removed from the script. And then we would look at the footage. The guy with the drone pilot was filming the camper van.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But as the camper van was resetting, I'd be able to take some of that footage and use it to put the effect of the drone sequence attacking them. So it was all just kind of
nice.
Oh, that works out.
I'm like, oh my God, there's 4 seconds he's moving through the trees with nothing there. I'll use that, put the drone in. So, yeah, it's funny. It's funny thinking back. And obviously, the people who funded the movie, if they heard this, they'd be like,
What?
Well, it's too late now.
Too late now.
So I have a question about the action sequences in I Am Rage versus Primal Games, because there are some scenes in Primal Games, specifically toward the end, where Mark and Hannah, where it's John Love who plays Ben, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Where John and Hannah, they're fighting themselves, right?
Oh, I can't remember. Did they fight themselves? I think, they're talking to themselves at the end.
They're talking to themselves.
Yeah, where are you? Are you talking outside or when they're in?
When they're in in the facility.
They're
yes.
It's talking.
Yeah.
They don't actually, because she comes out, bang, 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 like Clint Eastwood, but
that's right.
But doesn't hit anything. So it's just cutting back and and forth. They didn't actually grapple.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All of the stuff guys in the bunker we had to just make up, because the building we planned for the building we had, which was open space, all glass. And then when we went down in the bunker, Chris, the stunt guy, he just had to literally make up all these sequences on the spot because none of it translated from our original script into the location.
Okay.
So even the bit at the end when they were talking to themselves was kind of made up in a weird way. It was just so different. And even I remember on the last shot, we're like, that's a wrap. And everyone's just kind of looked at each other because we really thought we had no film. Zero. We were just like, this has not worked. In fact, I think the very last shot, and it's not in the movie, but we had Hannah in a body bag, and they zipped it back up. And I was like, how fitting is that? The last shot, our lead actress is in the body bag.
The end.
Yeah.
All around. There we go. Let's jump into horror for a second. Now, before we began this, you were talking about Redwood Massacre 3,
Mm-hmm.
possibly for our viewing pleasure sometime down the road. Is that?
I think maybe early next year we'll be shooting that one, I think.
So I have a question. Are you doing it in Vegas?
No.
Okay. Because last time we talked, you were like, you wanted to go to Vegas with this.
Well, the real truth is I got forced to put all that stuff in by one of the executive producers. So they really thought they were going to carry it on that way. And then the film didn't do as well as it should have, even though it had Danielle in it. So the franchise, I'll put in loose quotes, died not long after the film came out. So when they got back, they said they want to do an origin movie. So I was like, well, we'll set it in the 80s and we'll kind of do it that way, a bit more blood and guts,
Mm-hmm.
a bit of comedy, that kind of thing. And that's how it was kind of set out. It's like a low budget movie. I think maybe from the distributor's point of side, it's like a cash grab. It's like, like there's one more. Let's,
Sure.
take the money and run kind of thing, which I'm okay with. But yeah, I was kind of surprised they came back looking for a third one. Let's put it that way, because, the audience aren't exactly knocking on my door, saying, where's number 3?
Because it's funny. So because we have, not a massive, group of friends and everything, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. But, we tell people, the movies that we watch for the shows, if you're looking for a movie and you don't waste your time on this one because it just missed the mark. It was like somebody put a camera down and just like shot what was going on for 119 minutes kind of thing. But with the Redwood Massacre ones, we tell people about them and then they watch them and they're like, wow, yes. What factors do you think? Because I personally don't see why, as a horror movie person, and not trying to pick any particular kind of horror movie, because we like zombie movies is like number 1 with us, slashers number 2, and then like Japanese horror level, excessive to beyond the point of reasonable belief gore. The blood that spurts out at 320 psi. It's just crazy, but they're fun, and all the people that we talk to and gets around in the groups and stuff, they really love this stuff. What do you think? Yeah. Is it like a timing thing? Is it a distributor not pushing right? Or
I don't know. I remember when we pitched the first one and the distributors were like, no one's going to watch this movie. It's, it's going to fail. And as a result, we got like a pretty good deal on the film. And then lo and behold, we got like Hulu deals, Redbox at the time, like before the movie even came out, was in massive profit and then went on to do really well. And to be fair, the audience was split down the middle of I really like it or I really hate it,
Right.
that kind of thing. But I think there is an audience that just likes traditional, simplified horror, like slasher.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and even though our movies are full of the tropes that you're always like, someone hears a noise and they have to investigate. Some people actually do like that.
Yeah.
And when we tried to change it on Redwood Massacre 2, where we made the cast a little bit smarter, and it actually, people give us just as much grief for doing that.
Oh, sure.
Really?
So I was like, I don't know where it sits. I think that people just like, revisiting like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, the formula, and you can't really change it regardless if you're a tiny, low-budget movie or a big movie. There's like a fine line of what you can actually do before they start complaining. Because if you do change it, like the new Nightmare on Elm Streets and Friday the 13th, they moan about that too. So it's like a split audience. Horror people that want something new, and then the other half that are, like nostalgia, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys are more willing, in my experience, to take a risk on an indie film and kind of look past its misforgivings and budget and kind of enjoy it for what it is. So yeah. Does that make sense? Did I even answer the question there?
So our friends Cliff and Marty have a podcast, Making Pondo, Talking Pondo. And in the Talking Pondo bit, usually it's the two of them. They'll each watch a movie. They'll give each other a movie to watch that they've seen. And then they'll talk about each movie in the show. So we've been on there a couple times. And one that we all watched and talked about was the original Friday the 13th. And it's funny because we've brought it up, as like horror, this is where it began, this whole process of the camp slashers and stuff. And we watched it and it's like, God, some of that was nostalgia because Friday the 13th, the first one,
it doesn't super hold up.
It's pretty bad, actually. Friday the 13th part 2 is when we really got into the stuff because this one, you're like, is that the same Jeep that was in the last shot? Is this part of this? And why is this guy? And, and of course it had Kevin Bacon in it. So you got to have nostalgia for that. We call him Baby Bacon. But we're like, there really isn't a lot of gore in this. Not a lot. No. There's the money saving knife coming down. And then you hear a bit of a, but they're already cut into another scene. You don't actually get to see
what's weird is a lot of people kind of remember that Nathan wasn't really in the first one.
He wasn't at all.
Not at all. It's his mom.
Yeah, so that is the weird one. And you're right, it just kicks off at number 2, and that's where they kind of settle into this classic slasher, this unstoppable force with a lore behind it.
I think one of the most I remember this because I had subscriptions to all the horror movie magazines when I was a kid. And I remember most of this one article as part 2 came out for Friday the 13th was the machete in the wheelchair guy's face. And,
I do remember that.
That was like one of the first, as best as they could, the impact. And then right away you see it. And then, and it was like, oh my God, they attacked a guy in a wheelchair. And then in the same breath, but that was awesome. The effects were sweet, and he's going down. So yeah, I get that. I don't know.
I think you're never ever going to win with horror fans. Because if you look at the Terrifier franchise, right, which is another independent horror franchise, the audience is split on that as well. There are people who love him, and then there are people who go, it's too much. They're too depraved. They're too gross.
Yeah. It's just a fine line that I'm trying to think of a horror where I think it's, where they really nailed it. And I can't really think of any, where everyone's been happy with it.
Nope.
Not really.
No. I mean, I guess it really just comes down to people are too different. Like we love horror. So that's a very generalized thing. We love your approaches to horror. That's a very more finely focused thing. And we have a couple other focuses, but then there are things like It Follows, when I watched it, I was like, oh my God, is this movie going to end? Because this isn't it. It's not a horror movie to me. You know, it was just boring. I didn't like the premise at all. But we've seen things like, what was one with Toni Collette?
Hereditary.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was creepy in a lot of weird ways.
That was really creepy. I thought that was definitely one of the best horror films they've made in years for me. I'm trying to think. I hardly watch horror movies at all now. I don't know why. I think it's probably just because I've got kids. I think.
Oh yeah, that hurts. That hurts viewing time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you got to wait
for tough.
Yeah, you got to wait for the whole house to go to bed, and then you have to have enough energy to stay up. Yep.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Oh man. So Origin, an origin story, which would be interesting because it's going to take place in the 80s. You said you were going to like play that up, kind of the campiness and.
Well, here's the thing. When they first pitched it, I was just like, I don't want to do it. And then I wrote the script, and I really liked the script. I think it's overly gory. It's got some humor. It's set in the 80s. And I was like, okay. And then we were at a horror con, and Scotland does this big horror con. So we had the Redwood Massacre guy there. He was like walking about.
Yeah.
And a comic book company got in touch and says, look, we want to do a comic about the Redwood Massacre. And they were like, maybe we should test its appeal. Because it's good me saying, look at the videos on YouTube. So I put some, I think I put like 6 or 7 videos on TikTok with the Redwood Massacre, and it just went boom, like 16 million views. So I was just like, ooh. But I've come to the conclusion it's not so much the movies. It just seems to be the image of the guy. It's a guy with a bag on his head. He's got an axe.
Yeah.
And that's what, for some reason, especially on TikTok, people watch it, and it's like just millions and millions of views.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, when they do watch the films, they're like, yeah, but the films suck.
Oh, God.
It kind of like, we were like, well, maybe the third film is a good idea. Maybe now we could hit a broader audience. So I'm kind of, my fingers are crossed we'll make it, but it might never see the light of day. But
I have a burning question. It's very personal. In number 3, is his name going to be Burlap?
Is his name? I think it is. Yeah, I think I put it in there. It was a while. It was a while back. I wrote it. Yeah, I refer to him as Burlap now to everyone, and I saw something on social media where it was Burlap, so it's kind of filtered through. It's finally filtered through. I think he is in the script. Yeah, I'll have to double check.
That's my biggest claim. I love that so much. I love every time I watch, because I've rewatched Redwood Massacre and Annihilation. I don't know how many times, because we own it. And just which brings a question. So we liked in Primal Games. There's a difference from seeing the script, right? And then years later it's a movie. And okay, so Hannah's in it, and we know her from I Am Rage, but to see Gary Casper show up was nice. It was,
yes.
And he did such a magnificent job. His character is so creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, he exists on a whole different level.
Gary commits regardless of budget. If he's going to play a serial, whatever crazy guy, between action and cut, he really is that, it's quite funny to watch because he's such a really, really nice, he's overly nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're like action, he's in it. And it's quite funny watching it through the camera because you can see it. But yeah, he was meant to be in I Am Rage. It's a shame he couldn't do it. So I was so happy he did Primal Games. But he had it tough because he was also assistant stunt guy. So he was helping Chris on his days off, or he wasn't in a scene. He was like doing the wires and
Okay.
stuff. So I think he was probably exhausted by the end of that movie.
So are we going to have the same actor for Burlap, or
No,
Is
he was
that-
not going to come back.
no?
He's not coming back. We spoke to when we were at the horror con. There were some big guys, big guys. So I spoke to some people, but in the end, I think we're just going to put our stunt coordinator Chris in a costume.
Oh,
It just makes more sense. A lot of the stuff we got planned is like him axing people and them flying through the air and
Okay.
splatting on trees. So he'll be more like the Kane Hodder version. You know, he's a bit more broader.
okay.
muscly. But yeah, I think Ben Salwy, who played it in the first two, he enjoyed it, but he's not that great with people. He doesn't like crowds. He doesn't like the attention.
Sure.
So I think he was like, no, I'm not doing it. Even though I did offer, do you not want to come down to the convention where there's thousands of people? I think that's what set him off.
That's good for anybody who has some sort of social anxiety disorder. Let's go see 500,000 people where you're the focus.
Yeah. I was like, oh, but you'll have a mask on.
I think that's worse, even being in a mask with tons of people around you.
Oh, and it's so hot in those conventions, and that mask. I mean, I've still got the mask up there. Actually, is horrible to wear.
Are you going to be using the same mask, or is this going to have a? I don't want to, don't have to do spoilers. I was just curious.
I think, yeah, it's actually a funny way we get him back into the costume, and I mean, I'll tell you because it might not get made, but the whole movie is built on the legend of what happened, and there's this crazy 80s guy with a mullet. He's got this whole like really cheap exploitation camp, like the Redwood Massacre tours. So he invites all these idiots to go on this terrible camping trip. And he has people dressed up like how they think the Redwood Massacre would look in the checkered shirt and all that.
Okay.
And then obviously when the real Redwood Massacre guy comes out, he's like naked. That's how he takes the costume. That's why he's got such a terrible generic horror costume.
Oh, please tell me that's going to be played by Liam for that shot.
Oh, Liam is actually in the start of the movie. But yeah, I think the mask is in the prelogue, where you see what actually happened. He burns his wife alive and kills his kid. It's to do with the mask whispering in his ear. So it is still the same mask.
Cool.
But yeah, it's a lot more, it's just a lot more dark, serious, but it's funny. You've got like a guy on cocaine, like doing these stupid tours, with the skeletons popping up. And of course, when the real Redwood Massacre guy turns up, they just think he's part of the act.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
So it's that kind of, silliness.
I like that.
So
spoiled the whole story for you guys if it ever gets made.
We'll still watch it. It's okay.
Don't worry, all 4 of our listeners will forget about it by then. So, what? So we have talked about this too. You have like a circle of people that we have seen in various films, various roles, and Liam being the most predominant one. He was like 50-50 with you on Attack of the Herbals, just trying to get everything done, and both of you guys got reined in by Lorraine and, taught how to be organized and all this stuff. And I know he's always been very committed. If he's not on camera, he's getting coffee or getting things or whatever you need, whatever needs to get done. And we've talked about it before. That's kind of the heart of indie film. You don't get to hire 500 staff. Everyone has to triple and quadruple up and do what needs doing to get it done. But is it a plan to have him in every film? Even like with Annihilation, it was the radio voice.
That's right.
And the
God, yeah.
photos. He did the photos too. He was a still
Oh,
photo.
yeah, that's right. He did do the radio voice as well, actually. My God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as we've got older, he has like a real job. So it's harder for him. Yeah, I'll say that, a real job. It's harder for him to like commit to a whole shoot.
Right.
But what we use Liam now is like a second AD. He's someone that, as the first assistant director, kind of gets beaten down. Mm-hmm. We know at the weekends Liam was going to be coming in shouting at people, and it kind of like picks it back up. And I can't remember. I told him I wrote the part for him to be in part 3, but he hasn't done as much acting. I don't know. I think it's just because we're getting older, and he's just like, I don't know about being in these movies anymore. But he still loves the process of making them, if that makes sense. I think I've embarrassed him enough.
Well, we love it because it's kind of like a Where's Waldo. With every one of your films, we're looking for Liam. And is he going to pop up in the background, or is it going to be a voice? So we listen to like radio communications and, all the things that are going on. So we have this like heightened sensitivity because he is just this like delightful Easter egg.
Yeah, we play little games with ourselves to find him.
I'm trying to think if he was in Primal Games. Can't remember.
Yeah, he was a hillbilly.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
oh
he was
my
one
God,
of the.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
there was a really funny story actually because we premiered it in actual Hollywood because our producers live up in the Hollywood Hills.
Oh, okay.
So I went out to Los Angeles for the premiere, and I remember when we were filming the scene with the hillbillies, it kind of got lost in translation. I didn't expect them to be hillbillies. So when I turned up to film the scene and saw them all going like, yeah, I was like, what is going on? What is going on? But it was just, there was so much stuff going wrong. I was just like, right, you're hillbillies now. I wanted them to be, they were supposed to be more like the bad guys in RoboCop, like just horrible.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway, when we screened the film in Los Angeles, a television producer came up to me after and he's like, I want to cast, we're doing a television pilot. This is the budget. This is how many weeks. And I want to cast 2 of the guys from your movie. And I was like, oh, I wonder who. He's like, I want to cast Liam, that character, and the other hillbilly. And I was like, what the heck, Earth? What? So I had to tell him, I was like, they're not actually American. He was like, what? I was like, yeah, they're Scotland. I can't believe you didn't notice, but they're from Scotland. But so he was genuinely like upset. And he was asking, do they have SAG cards? We'll fly them over. I was like, no, they don't. They don't. That's, some guy came up to me after and he's like, that's Hollywood.
I love that. What kind of a TV show would feature 2 hillbillies like that, though? I can't help but wonder.
I have no idea, and I didn't even ask. I thought it was some kind. I was looking about. I was like, someone's filming me. I know it. I know
right.
I'm on. Yeah.
Are you being punked?
But yeah, they got really good laughs actually at the showing because I was just kind of like, the hillbilly scene's coming up, and we're playing it to U.S. citizens. How is this going to go down?
So when we were doing the episode on it, I think Danny, you said it was almost comical.
I've spent a lot of time in the South of the United States, where people do talk like that. And so when I heard it, I was like, that's pretty good. I can tell the difference, but
But yeah.
You know what? Most of the people in Los Angeles, they bought it. They really thought they were hillbillies. But some of our producers have worked in Alabama and all that. And obviously they're like, wait a minute. This is not how, people further in state talk.
No.
I was like...
Well, I don't know, because we talked about it, and there's like the different Southern dialects here.
There are many.
Georgia's different than Alabama, that's different than Mississippi, which is different than New Orleans. But when you start talking hillbilly, to me, this is like where her grandfather
That's
grew up.
Appalachia.
Yeah, Appalachian Mountains, or even the Catskills, right? When people, the folks who are deeply embedded in these mountains, which is super remote, I mean, it was almost like spot on. And it is kind of comical. And, you know, not in a bad way.
My grandpa grew up in Appalachia, right? West Virginia. I don't know, the Appalachian Mountains are like the oldest mountains in, at the very least, the United States. They're older than dinosaurs, right? And the people who live there are their own sort of thing. And my grandpa was a hoot. And he would say "warsh" instead of "wash." And
yeah.
But he lost a lot of it because he left early.
He did.
He left when he was still a teenager.
Yeah, he escaped.
Yeah.
You know. To be fair to Liam, all they've got is movie references.
Right. Where it's overplayed. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like me watching Braveheart, and I'm just like, That's not how Scottish people sound. So,
well, you know, let Liam know perfect, because
I'll let him know. I'll let him know.
If anything else, in every film, every character is a caricature of something that we're trying to, put in that main character or whatever. It's always a little overdone. Like Tony Stark, there's no Tony Stark on planet Earth, but there are people who are very similar, and you just got to like amp it up a bit. But I loved seeing it in the actions and the both of them interacting, and the back and forth of the dialogue too was like spot on, because we've been to the Appalachians, we've been to these places, and it's like, that was,
there was actually a really good comment about the Hillbillies actually when I was in America, and they said it actually works for the film because the concept of the film is ridiculous. It's on the verge of being silly, but we're playing it so serious. So when the Hillbillies come on, it kind of like, okay, it's like it kind of worked in our favor in a weird way. Like, we're not that serious, but
it's a little breath of levity.
Well, yeah, and I think it really, it kept it from being super serious to the point where it would be absurd, where it's like, so this is a theme park for just serial killers, right?
I mean, the movie's so stupid. They've got like spaceships firing lasers, and they're... So in a weird way, I'm glad they did play it like that. So
it fit.
Yeah,
it's really
I'll
good.
find out when the reviews finally start coming in.
So one thing we wanted to talk about, like I had mentioned, a lot of questions come out on there's a lot of people making films, and it's not so much anymore, but like Amazon way back, like many years ago, because we were trying to get they had two things going. One where you could submit your film to scripts. And, we had submitted some scripts, and it goes through this whole doctoring process and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah. Back when they were doing that.
Yeah.
They're not doing that anymore.
No, they don't do that anymore. Well, Amazon was a really great place. That's where we found a lot of independent films, like ultra low budget, like Herbal level budget. Yeah. Not so much anymore. But, no. It was a pretty easy thing to do. You could slap this thing together, get a final edit, and then submit it. And they'd add it to the library because they were thirsty back then. They couldn't get big name films. That's
the thing. They did the old bait and switch. They built their content on the back of all indie filmmakers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Finally brought the audience, and then they did the great cull where they got rid of like 90% of all the indie films.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Which happened 5 years ago. So yeah, it was kind of sucky at the time.
It was really frustrating.
Well, I mean, we've talked about it.
I'm lucky. A lot of my movies still remain, so I'm like, but I could see it coming. The price per watched, I can't remember how they did it, was starting to come down to it's almost worthless now on Amazon. So I was like, they're a way to just obliterate all of us indie guys, and they did. They really did.
Yeah, because when we look for something, we do B movies and independent film, but we want to try and find stuff like Attack of the Herbals, somebody who, you can watch it and you can be like, this is what we call an earnest effort. They did everything they could with little to no money. And, they did what thousands of other people talk about doing but never do. They made a film, but we can't ever find anything hardly anymore. And I know there's like 100 other services. There's things like Prime, all these things you can subscribe to that have like independent films and stuff. And it's like, well, I don't know how many services and channels am I supposed to keep track of? It gets really difficult, to find stuff. And some of them come and go pretty quick. Within a year, it's like, oh, that channel is gone, or whatever they call it, that streamer. So going back to like Attack of the Herbals, we had talked a little bit at the beginning of what next? You have your movie and just kind of that process. But I'm curious, as your career progresses and your credibility gets higher and higher and higher, because you have all these things and you have bigger films and you have bigger returns, and you're getting the projects done, and you're not sitting back and for 10 years and then showing up and saying, okay, I'm going to make another movie, how that process changed from then to now. And, like I said, the big question is, how can it make money? And if it can't make money, how do you get seen so someone knows you made this movie?
Yeah. It's a long road. I mean, our whole formula was at the beginning, let's increase the budget every film until we hit that 250. And then it just became obvious from there that actually at $250,000, regardless of even Danielle Harris is like a kind of no name, it becomes quite risky actually, because the markets are so saturated with movies. Mm-hmm. There's so many films that it's actually driven down the price of what we used to sell films for to different territories like Canada, like that's how you normally make a lot of your money.
Yeah.
And now because distributors can be like, nah, we'll give you $1,000 because I've got like 20 of the same films that'll take that low amount. We're not going to buy yours. So it's changed so much. And it's the same as the big studio films in a weird way. That's why you only get comic book films now. Because everyone's just so scared to try something because they are scared it's going to not make money. So it's like we're in the whole industry of, film entertainment's at this weird stalemate where at the low end, no one's going to give you a chance unless you toe the line and do like a horror the reason we had to do action movies was because the horror got so saturated. They said, you have to move up into action movies because less people are making them. We can sell them for more. So it's like, it's weird. I don't know. We're just like in a stale creative pot at the moment.
So what was the first step? Do you find a distributor, or do you do festivals, or what did you do, or
Well, this is the thing. They tell you festivals and all this kind of stuff, but the festivals don't do actually anything. I mean, how many people really go to film festivals? And when you put it to the broadest audience, festivals are a tiny percent. But normally, back in the old days, you would. Well, this is the thing. This is the catch, right? No one will give a first-time director any money because you haven't done a feature movie.
Right.
So you're caught in this loop.
Yeah.
So and that's the only way we could break the loop, was by luckily having enough money to make our own film. And Redwood Massacre was about $35,000. And obviously not everyone's got 35, even though it's micro budget, not everyone's got $35,000 to make their movie. But like for us, the step that kind of pushed us through wasn't trying to be a filmmaker, for instance, like I'm going to make an original movie and it's going to be like this and that. We were just like, right, where's the lowest budget audience? Horror, slasher film, So we're kind of moving in, right? We're not trying to find an audience, right? Here's the horror audience right now. Let's see if we can grab the slasher audience. And if even 1% of them watch the film, we've got a chance of making money.
Okay.
So that's how we kind of approached it. And that's what kind of Redwood Massacre luckily became like a little sleeper indie hit. And it's so true and depressing, but as soon as you start making other people money, then the doors will open for investment. But the problem with that is you're only, and I keep saying this, you're only as good as your last film, because if your last film doesn't make any money, it's going to be a lot harder to try and get the next movie up.
Yeah, nobody wants to repeat that.
Yeah, that's why I always try to do the movies as one's just coming out. I try to get the next one going just in case it totally fails. But then, like, on the flip side, I've had to, like, not sacrifice, but I am doing kind of cheese-tastic commercial movies. But from, like, a business point of view, we're hitting the broadest audience we can for indie films. It's given us the best possible chance to actually make the money back. And at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about, unfortunately. It's
I was just going to say, money. I know a lot of people go indie because it's like, first of all, well, we know firsthand what it is trying to work with Hollywood. You can get so close so many times, and then there's always some ridiculous, stupid thing that happens. And it's like, okay, you got to start that whole climb all over again. And it gets frustrating and boring. And then you sit back and you're like, okay, so the 5 things that came out, instead of taking what we did, you got 5 things that are the same as the 5 things from 2 years ago, which is just as boring and uninteresting and whatever, but that's where they sunk their money. So, whatever. But I know a lot of folks with indie, they're like, it's my heart. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to stick to it. But it is a business. And that's, I think...
That's what kills 99% of first-time filmmakers. Like, I remember I spoke to the distributor, and he said, "You will not believe how many award-winning movies come our way that have went through all the festivals, won all these awards, and they will not get distributed because there's no commercial merit in trying to put a film out." Because the big, the legions of people you want to get to rent your movie aren't really interested in, like, a really serious, dramatic piece that's probably the best film ever made, but they just want their money. They'll take a spaceship firing laser beams down at someone over that any day. It's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of filmmakers, because it's kind of a weird one. But that's the kind of curse I got to live with. If I ever do meet, like, really serious filmmakers, and I'm like, "Oh, I made Primal Games," or "I Am Rage," and they're like, "Well, I made, like, Shakespeare." I'm like, "Oh, man." Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it's true though. No aspiring indie filmmaker or writer wants to hear that. Like, write it for the audience that'll make you money, right? They want someone to tell them, do your art, follow your heart, and that's just not gonna.
You know what? There is films that do get made like that. There really is, and get lots of investment, but they just never. It's always, like, normally through. Like, funding, like we have, like, the Scottish Creative Scotland film body. They'll put money into giving people this chance to make these kind of movies, and they will. But then when they go to do their second one, that's where they hit the...
Yeah.
Give me something that's going to make money. We liked your first one, but that's...
We see a lot of that, well, from the European area, because I know France has a fund, England has a fund. We see things funded by Ireland. They make movies out of that fund like it's a bodily function.
Canada does too.
Canada does too. A lot of people go to Canada for that and bring on a Canadian producer, and they get some of that. And it's funny because the episode that I'm going to post later today for a movie that I watched, I ended up going into a conversation with myself, because Danny was out of town, on the difference between an idea and a story. And I think that's the number 2 catch for all these indie folks who they have this great idea. Okay, well, an idea lasts by itself on screen maybe 10 seconds, You have to have a story. And this movie that I watched was, well, I could see the dude had a clear idea, but it was just a bunch of random shit happening on screen. Like, I had no idea where the hell this is going. I get she's turning into a thing, but why? And, you know, there's almost like no dialogue. It was just really weird. But those two things coupled together, and we've talked about this with some other folks like Cliff and Marty, who, our advice to folks is, like, you write something, get somebody outside of your circle. Don't get a horror fan. Get somebody, read the script. Okay. What questions do they have? If one of them is, so what the hell's going on? You missed it. You missed it.
Yeah.
Even somebody who's not a fan of that genre should be able to say, I like this, or I didn't like this, but be able to talk about the story without questioning what is the story, you know?
And you know something, it's so important, if you're going to do that, don't put it to anyone else to write scripts who is in the movie business.
Yeah, no.
Trust me.
No.
Because if you ask them to comment, they're going to comment regardless if they needed to or not.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, what's your go-to? So you've got, okay, you have Redwood Massacre 3. You're looking at it and you're like, all right, I think this is pretty sound. It's not the golden master yet, but you think you've got all the pieces everywhere you want. Who do you hand that to? Is it folks in your circle, or do you have like a trusted chain where you could get back some like unadulterated feedback that would be like, hey, this was good. I don't understand this at all. What really happened here? You know, stuff that you can actually work with.
I mean, I'm my own worst enemy, because I've got to write my own films to create the opportunity to make a movie, basically. Because there's no one like knocking on my door saying, hey, do you want to direct? But what I'll normally do is, I'll write out the script. I won't stop till I get to the end, and then I show it to my wife and Liam, and they're my worst critics anyway. Like I remember I got them to do a commentary for Redwood Massacre years ago, and I had to delete it because they just ripped the film apart for 80 minutes. It was just horrendous. But I won't, like, I'm quite stubborn. Like on I would say, maybe, was it Primal Games? Maybe it was I Am Rage, but because there was other people involved, investment, they wanted to give notes. I think, I know what it was Primal Games. They had a screening, and I had like big movie producers. Like, I think it was like Paramount. It was like a rough cut and all that, and they wanted to give notes. I was just like, no. I don't want any notes. You know,
No.
I kind of dig my heel in. But before we make the movie, I try not to get that many opinions, because I often I find if I ask for an opinion, I'm going to get it. And sometimes that's just coming out of their necessity for just having to say something.
Right.
When actually, sometimes the first version was probably better. It's different strokes for different folks, isn't it?
Well, it's a mix, right? I
remember when you gave us the script for it. We read it, and I felt terrible because I was like, I think it's great. I didn't really have anything to
other than typos and, you know, some formatting issues, because it was just like raw. But yeah, we weren't reading it at that level, so we're not correcting a, you know, English paper.
I remember this wasn't a script note, but this was an edit notes. This producer gave me on Redwood Massacre 2. He was like, it's too long, it needs 10 minutes taken out. And I was just like, he's wrong. And then I watch it back years later, and I was like, God damn, I should have listened to that guy. He was right.
Well, we watched the rough cut of I Am Rage.
Uh-huh.
You gave us access to it because we watched it, and that's where I think like the one big thing. There was a couple things to that. The one big thing was it the knife that broke? Hannah was having the knife fight in the basement.
Oh, and she sticks it in the guy's neck.
We could see the blade breaks, and we just pointed that out at so and so. Cut that out. But I think it was at the time too. You apologized emphatically for the music because you had just borrowed some non-licensed stuff to add to it. And it was funny. We couldn't even comment on that because at the time we were watching, I'm like, this actually fits. Might not be top choice. It was weird. That was like,
here's the funny thing. I spend more time searching through temp music than actually editing the film. It got so ridiculous that I had to stop myself, like caring because it's impossible to take different scores and really make it. And plus, you're put in a Hollywood. I remember one person watched a film with a Hollywood score, and they're like, "Oh, the score was great, by the way, great job." I'm like, "That's like a $6 million score that I've laid down. we ain't going to be having that." Yeah.
So what do you have in your bucket now that you didn't have before? So and like in between, I'm also thinking about in between films. You have done work for other folks. You've done like color correction, you've done sound, you've done stuff. I mean, that's to me, that's the whole name behind your handle is, with, the avid group of software editing, you just like tackle stuff. And
yeah, it's, that's probably the secret to how I get movies made, because if I do all the post-production for free, like I claw it back on the back end, but if I tag that cost on to the movies, they probably would never get made.
Okay.
So in a weird way, yeah, I keep forgetting I do that, but I dabble in audio post for a couple of years. So I feel like I've done a couple of other people's movies and all that kind of stuff. I edited someone else's movie, which I'll never do again. So there's like lessons like that, or I'm still learning, and I'm like 44. Don't ever edit anyone else's, because you'll never meet it's like writing your script, right?
Sure.
Like what you see in your head is completely different to how someone might see when they read your script.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, guys, like when you're making an indie film, a lot of the arguments about making the film is for that reason, where a producer will say, well, that's not how I saw that. And you're like, well, no, it's not. Of course it's going to be different, but unfortunately, you're not filming it.
Right.
But I still learn. Yeah, I've learned a lot. I still learn things, to be honest. It's hard to keep up with technology now. Especially with AI, and everything's changing so fast that there's just so many packages you've got to retain in your head.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I finish editing and move to the Pro Tool for audio, every time I've got to relearn it because I've forgotten how to use the bloody thing.
So accumulating those skills allows you to, because I've always when these last two films, I've talked about your color correction, and it no offense, but it's almost like at an OCD level, because you have talked about color in past interviews and things, and I know how important it is, absolutely, and that's one of the things is I'm like, I can watch any of these, and I know it's David because he has a very specific sense of color and theme working it in. And, it's wonderful. It's very familiar. But, would you ever feel comfortable? So you get to a point where you actually get one of these big budget offers. You get to do a thing, but you just can't sit at that console. You can't do it.
1,000,000%. I did it with I Am Rage. I got someone to color that. That was my first movie. Someone else colored it.
And how did it feel?
And it felt so good. The problem I've got with color grading is I'm not a professional color grader, and I go through, like, if my wife was here, she would tell you, I'll spend the whole day color grading a scene, looking at it in depth, go away for a cup of coffee and come back, and I'm like, oh my God, it's awful. So I will go round in loops for weeks and weeks and weeks with stuff like color grading. And the audio aspect is the audio is actually the biggest part of making a movie. It's the most, you spend about 8 to 10 weeks doing the audio. And there's just so much on the delivery side for when you're handing over a film.
Mm-hmm.
The audio is a killer. And if I could ever afford to get a professional post audio guy, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would love just to come in and they're like, the movie's done. I'd be like, woo!
So my question then is, knowing these things, so with the knowledge that you have, when you are envisioning this next project, whatever it is, in the writing process, do you factor in some of these things? Because I know,
all of it.
Okay, because I know when we writing it, you're not going to tell from the paper, but we talk about what the lighting would be like, what the mood is. We see the film version of what we're writing, and we're not as versed as you in like audio. I don't know anything about audio yet. I stumble through putting this thing together, but like.
This is the podcaster. I don't know about audio.
I've said it on the podcast. I'm not an engineer. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It sounds good. Okay, cool. Does it affect how you write the script? Like you do something and you're like, there's no way this audio wise, this just won't do.
I think, in a weird way, audio it's quite hard to capture properly when you're making feature movie, especially when you're doing it so fast. So if I'm writing a scene, I'll shoot quite tight.
Mm-hmm. I'll
make sure they can get the boom in, or if they're struggling, I'll shoot the whole scene just for the sound. I'll be like, so I'll think about, okay, if there's 5 people in this wide shot, we're going to need 5 radio mics. So you kind of are conscious, and that's, I think, the curse of doing indie movies, because you kind of have to put yourself in a box when you're writing your scripts. You're like, I can't do this, I can't do that, or if I do this, I won't be able. So unfortunately, I'm very conscious of everything while I'm writing the films. But then it saves a lot of time, because I remember in Redwood Massacre, the first one, there was going to be this big fight and they're punching each other through walls. And then obviously you get there and it's a concrete wall. So you're like, well, we can't do anything. So you just got, if you know it's going to be made for a certain type of money, it's in your best interest to make sure it can be filmed for that kind of money, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
And it just saves so much time when you come to shoot it, because you've got a start, middle, and end of a scene that 100% you can do. You're not finding out on the day, and it still happens where someone will come up to you and say, well, you can't really blow him up, but I still did it with my son.
Yeah.
I think what struck us so much with that is, so we watched, Walking Dead when it was on and all the way through. And there was an episode where this one, 11-year-old, 10-year-old girl was batshit crazy and ended up murdering her sister so she could come back and play. And it was just wild.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And the whole thing was Carol ends up shooting her. And I remember they did it after the show, they had the producers and stuff. And one of the producers was they handed me this script. I'm like, wait a minute, you're gonna shoot an 11-year-old girl in the head on primetime television? There's no way in hell the censors anywhere on planet Earth is going to let this happen. We're not going to do this. So they had to rework it to where it was in the background, you just hear,
Mm-hmm.
But we just saw him go into the woods. What do you think? Kaboom. Oh, I guess so. I don't know. It's just so funny.
I said to the producer, I goes, if I had the money, I would have shown him get blown up. But I think it works. That scene works because it's a bit subtle. It's just becomes comedy in a weird way. But there is people that will watch it and be like, "Oh my god!"
Did he get to watch that scene? Did you let him watch that scene where he got blown up?
Well, he's seen it. And
okay.
When we're making the movie, the guy wasn't there on the chair. He was just aiming at his mum, pretending, stuff like that. So when I showed him it, and he knew that he kind of understands now that it's all make believe, which I think is quite good.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
Or when he grows up, once I show him Hellraiser next week, I'm sure he'll push through.
Oh, so what's like the bigger scope of stuff? Like if you were to name like the next 5 things, if you could, you would do, is it more action? Are you getting back into horror? Do you want to do more action? Do you want to get into like a thriller suspense has been big lately? Not a lot of great movies in that field, but there've been a couple, but it's kind of a big thing. I mean, do you have like a hankering of
I've signed on for like I guess it would be like a thriller horror low budget movie, so it's like kind of going back. One of the things after doing the last 3 movies, the $250,000, it just feels big. And even though it's small in the world of movies, there's just so many people, and there's like it's just a non-stop pressure because money's going out every day, that we were like, let's go back. So I signed on to a smaller movie where it's like kind of like how I did it in the old days, smaller crew, small cast. So we're going to try that out. I think that's our next movie. It's nearly signed up by the sounds of it, but you never know. And then I signed up for a big action movie they're shooting in Uganda. So it was my first director for hire job, I guess.
Okay.
Like it's like the script's nonsense, and it's like Die Hard in Uganda. And I was just like, I'll try it. I'll give it a go. So they're in Uganda now, the producers. It kind of stalled. So they're back trying to get it going. And that had like I'd never heard of him, but it had like a famous guy from Sons of Anarchy was going to be one of the stars of that one.
Oh, okay.
I don't know who he is.
I know some of I never watched it, but I know some of the folks from there.
I don't know. And I met like some Disney actress for that film, which I also didn't know. I had to pretend I did, obviously. But what was the other one? I'm doing. There was a big vampire film I wrote. Kind of, I don't know. It's like there's just so much that we've. What I did was I just spent like a couple of months and wrote like 4 or 5 scripts, and I'm just kind of throwing all the scripts out, and whatever one sticks, basically,
okay.
I'll follow the money.
So this Uganda one, you're going to be gone, or do you know how, like an estimated
I think like
time?
It's like 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
Wow.
So I convinced the stunt coordinator from the I Am Rage and Primal Games to go over, and the same focus guys. So like if I'm going to die over there, I'm making sure I'm taking as many people with me.
That's right.
They're going out with me.
So would you be would Lorraine be going with you, or is she going to stay back? Okay.
It's kind of, the movie's like set in this big famous university in like one of their big cities in Uganda. Mm-hmm. So it's like a terrorism. It's Die Hard.
Sure.
I think deep down it's just to promote the university, to be honest. I think this is why they're making this movie. But it's like action, guns, it's a lot. It sounds like it could be a lot of fun, or it might be the worst movie ever made. It's one of the two. So I'm hoping somewhere in the middle, if it finally happens.
You could still have a lot of fun with the worst movie ever made.
I mean, you can.
I've made a couple of them, so I may as well.
Come on. So, I mean, have you guys been apart that long? I'm just always curious, because like some of the indie filmmakers we know, they don't really go far from home. They're literally just like in their backyard or just on the other side of the fence kind of thing. And so if you're doing a project for someone else for hire, have you been away from the family that long, that far?
Oh, well, I mean, I've done a few movies here in Scotland with another company, and that's like maybe 3 times I've been away from the kids. But when I actually worked in the UK film industry years ago,
mm-hmm.
It was all around the world. It was all around Europe, and so I was kind of used. I'll be used to. It's no big deal for me to, off I'll go, as long as the money, they pay me the money. I'll go wherever they want.
That's kind of it, isn't it?
That sounds terrible. But yeah.
No, I mean, it makes sense.
It's one of those things. I know I'm appreciative of having the opportunity to make films, because I know there's so many people that try all their life and don't get it.
Right.
So even though I'm like, oh, the script's bad, like I'll go out there and I'll give it my best go. So yeah.
I'm curious. Do you have and to me, this is part of the disease that is in Hollywood right now, is every director they get for these big films, they have final cut say, they have final draft say, and sometimes they rewrite the entire thing. And not all of these directors, like I'm not big on J.J. Abrams. I don't care that he wrote for the TV show Lost. I hated TV show Lost. So every time he gets handed a script and he rewrites it, I just feel like that's not. I don't know. If I was a studio person, I'd be like, dude, I'm hiring you to direct it because you know how to get people moving. You know how to get the shots. You know how to put the picture together. Mm-hmm. But this is the story I want you to film. But they always just rewrite it. So do you have any like input, lot on that kind of thing? Or are they like, here's what we need you to do, make changes as appropriate, like shooting problems or something like that? Or how much do you get to?
For the Ugandan film, there was a script, and I told them, listen, I need to rewrite the script. And I mean, the script had a lot of problems, but what I was trying to explain to them is, by me, and this is kind of how it's worked with all my other films, because I've always written them. For some reason, if I write the script, I can retain the entire movie. It's like my only superpower I've got in life. I can retain it and never have to look back at it. I can just go out and I'll be able to shoot it because I've already visualized.
Sure.
The like you guys were saying, you visualize the movie. That's what I do. I visualize the movie and I go out and I'll shoot the movie, that you see in my head. So for that, I kind of explained that to them, and they were like, change whatever you want. It's not that kind of film. If you think you can make it better, by all means, go and change it.
It's not that kind of film.
They're like, go and change it, change everything.
We just need moving pictures on a screen, man.
Yeah. They're like, there's 10 producers that are getting paid off this movie. Just make sure there's a script. But in the past, I think the worst, not the worst one, but I remember for I Am Rage, I co-wrote that. And that was quite an interesting experience because we were so yin and yang. It caused a lot of problems when we were shooting the movie, actually.
Mm.
It was so... He actually directed he was a director. And this was the big problem, really. He was seeing it from his director eyes, and I was seeing it from mine, and we just were like this the whole in the movie, which is a shame. But so in that sense, I'm like, I'm never going to write with anyone again. But I think as you move up, people like me, you get less and less say in the script, and it's actually more producers and other people that are pulling it in directions, and they don't even know why. It's like they're just adding in changes for the sake of it. And it's quite funny because a lot of like what I hear is it always ends up circling back to kind of how it was with the original writer.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's what I kind of meant by, if you ask for someone's opinion, just get ready because they're going to give you it. And a lot of the times they don't really need, they're just looking for something to say.
Right.
Right.
That's my experience. When really they could just say, you know what, that was really good. They'll be like, yeah, well, I would have done this. And you're like, well,
Well, there's a couple of times you've mentioned about, you've had to make changes, things that you can't, you come up against it. Weather, can't control the weather,
Yeah.
We talked to somebody who one of their main actors got, it was a spider bite, wasn't it?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And got deathly ill and was out. So they had to just like bring someone in and do like some rewriting, because it's like, this is too much to get someone in at this point, because they had already started. But the ability to let it go, just, that whole thing, they're like, drown your babies and stuff when you're writing. And do you find it easier now to something, specifically something you've written? So forget the Ugandan thing.
I'll tell you exactly what I do. And this was actually through Danielle Harris on Redwood Massacre too. She took my script and she used to have this yellow marker, and she would just go, none of that I am going to be saying. I was like, that's quite interesting, actually, because you've saved me a lot of time. And she was right. It actually improved the scene. So in the films after that, I would actively go to the cast and say, listen, the dialogue, just use that as your template. If you think you can improve it with keeping the kind of essence of what I was trying to do, you think you can improve it, go for it. Because those guys are the ones putting themselves on the screens. A lot of the time, not all of the time, but a lot of the time, they make it so much better. So I am not precious, but I don't regard myself as a writer. I can see if I was, and people started changing it, I could understand why some people would be like, well, wait a minute, you know what I mean? And fight, to stop people changing it. So, yeah. I mean,
we do that. So we'll go through like 5, 6, 7 drafts, and we can get pretty brutal about it. But we do have, in some instances, it's like, this is the beautiful vase on the table that was specifically put here for, this purpose. And it's like, you have to face the reality. So if I rip those pages out, you read from this page to the next page with those ones missing, would it make a difference? And it's like, oh shit. Okay. No, you gotta.
And you know what? That's the killer. But the other one for me is there's a difference when we read or do like a table read through, me, Liam, and Lorraine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're awful actors. So there's a lot of stuff we're like, oh, we should take that out. And then when you block the scene and hear real actors say the lines, it's so different. There's so many scenes where I've done, and they probably are kind of cheesy anyway, where I'm like, this is too much. And then a professional actor will say it, and you're like, oh my God, it's so different. It's so different. So sometimes I feel I'll try and stop myself from cutting out, trimming the fat too much, because I know when you hand it over to someone who's, a professional actor, you're going to know straight away if it works or it doesn't. Mm-hmm. And when it doesn't work, you know straight away. That's when you're like, please change the dialogue. Help me.
Well,
it's really hard if you're going to write to script, you really want to direct the script.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine writing a whole movie and then handing it over and let someone do it and kind of just standing back. I can imagine that would be quite a horrendous experience, unless it turned out amazing. But it's just going to be so far removed from what you intended, isn't it? And that's where the arguments and kind of I am rage happened. And he might have been right and I might have been wrong, but we'll never know, I guess.
With one thing that we've talked about a lot is in the old days when everything was films, out of a canister in the camera, and you had so many feet of film available to you that day. That's how you budget. You would make your budget. The whole thing of all this editing, all this discussion and stuff would happen before, because you don't want to shoot a whole scene and then have to do it again if not necessary. But in the world of digital, time is still money, because in these bigger productions, you have all these people, right? And they're getting paid, and you have a schedule you got to keep to. But unlike old times where sometimes you'd have to swap out the film because, you did too many shots and you got to put another reel on and
Mm-hmm.
That when it comes to things like this, that we've always talked about as a writer, this is the story you want to tell. When you're giving it to a director, hopefully you can communicate to them, but the actors are the ones who are doing it all,
Mm-hmm.
You can get in as tight or as far back as you want. You could pan, overhead, do whatever. If they're not doing it, it's not going to matter. So the whole thing of, if you do this one thing and it's as the script says, and as the director, you're like, okay, that looked pretty good. If the actor says, can we do it again? I got, I want to try something. It doesn't really cost like it used to using up that film and stuff. And if it's not a complicated scene, like if you don't have to, everybody say, back to one, reset, and then 15 minutes later you can do the second take. I mean, that's time is money. But the ability to just do like a 10, 15, 20 second dialogue exchange or a shot and have them try something and go with what they feel that character would come in. We know some people who have done that, and we know the people who are like, never, time. Do you feel like running that process where you can take an extra minute or 2 or 3 to let the actor try and deliver something even better than you anticipated?
1,000,000%. In fact, one of the things that confused Danielle Harris when we were shooting that movie was I would film the wide shot last. Because traditionally you start with the wide and then you build, you go in closer.
Yeah.
And I was explaining to her that what I'm going to do is let you change as we go through the process. Change as much as you want. Try as much as you want. In the mid shots, take 1, 2, 3. And then when we've arrived at what you think's the best way to do it, I'll shoot the wide shot. Because that means it's going to edit. Because what normally will happen, you shoot the wide, and then by the time you do the close-ups and you've changed everything, when you come to cut it together, you're still stuck with the original wide shot where you haven't had all those extra, like bits they've added in.
Yeah.
So I always say to them, try what you think. And that's how we normally start, to be honest. I'll say this, I'll block it out where I'm like, here's where the camera's going to be, here's where the camera's going to move, and this is what I kind of want you to do. And that's pretty much all I'll say. And then we'll roll it, and you kind of straight away know what's working and what's not. And that's where my directing is just kind of nudging, and I'll be like, well, why don't you try it this way? And it might trigger their mind to add something that way.
Okay.
And when we're all happy, right, we'll just shoot the shit out of it. And let's go to the next one. So, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I am not very good at writing scripts. So I am more than happy, to let... I always say to them, I can't act. So I don't feel comfortable telling you how to act. It's your face that's going to be up there, forever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if you've got something to add, now's the time to add it, kind of thing. And obviously there's some people where that can kind of backfire. There was like a guy in Redwood Massacre 2 where that drastically backfired, given that kind of freedom. But for like pros, I'll say, the real professionals, it was great because they were kind of just self-editing. Well, you're not going to need this. We'll try this. We'll do this. So yeah, that's the way I kind of work. And I know that's kind of frowned upon by most filmmakers, because there's some people that won't. They'll be like, it's my way or the highway, or that don't work.
And we've seen some works by those folks, and we've talked about them on different, maybe not the particular movie we were covering, but as a related lesson or something. And I think that's one of the biggest travesties is people who have that mindset where, my way or the highway kind of thing, because this whole process is collaborative. you know. If you or us or anybody could sit down and be 100% on every minute decision and not be challenged at any point in the universe, that person would well, they'd be the only one making movies these days, you know. And we've just from each other talking about stuff, we'll do our own read-throughs on scripts and assign the parts and stuff, and it'll be like, either as written, it's not good, or try delivering it like this, say it like this, see if it sounds different, you know, and everything. But not allowing an actor to do their thing, or even like, the director of photography being like, oh, had a thought, you want this, but 5-degree shift, something with the lighting, anything that could just emphasize or bring out your vision and their work even more. I just don't understand how people could be so against that.
Even at my level, there is people like that, believe it or not. But when you're like a crew of 20 or 25 and you're doing these movies so quick, stuck together, I think approaching a film that way you're doomed anyway. Because in a weird way, you become like this weird, like crazy family, because you're thrown into like a pressure pot for like 18 days. So if I would, or someone like me or me was to be like, well, this is the way we're doing it, I think the repercussions through the day and the way people react, it would kind of have a negative effect. So I think by including, and remember, you're paying professional actors to do that.
Yeah. And I think it's actually, just talking about filmmaking like a business, it's like any other business. You hire people to do a job, let them do their job, right? You hire them, trust them to do their job.
Yeah. I think that's the way.
Yeah. Maybe
being an actor director, you can get away with it. But I'm very uncomfortable telling. I know I keep going back to Daniel Harris, but there was one, I'll always remember this, where I tried to direct her and she just politely, like with a Jedi force, shut me down. It was just like, I've done this so many times. Just tell me where to start and end. And I was like, that actually ended up being the best thing she ever did. I was just like, this is brilliant. We wouldn't have finished the film if she never just politely said that, because everything she did was spot on without me having to say anything. It was great.
Nice.
Yeah. Let them do their jobs.
Absolutely. Good. Just, we're good.
There will be no directing here today. So I was like, okay.
Oh man. Kind of an out of the field question. There has been a building trend of directors specifically who made some movie decades ago, or even further, their first like film. And I'm going to use John Carpenter as an example. So his semi-student film Dark Star, which was by all accountability a travesty. Just you could tell the guy had some knowledge on making a film. I love it. I've watched it hundreds of times in my life, but everything is so cheap and chintzy and cheesy because they didn't have money for anything really. But they shot this whole thing, and it has had for many decades this cult following. There was always hinting at redoing it with a real budget.
Oh.
Yeah, with he's going to remake Dark Star with a real budget and with talent and real equipment and stuff. There was a cult classic movie called Street Trash way back from the 80s, and it was just one of those that's just ridiculous and gross. But Ryan Coogler he redid it, came out last year, amped it up, more gruesome effects and just grittier and grosser, because it was really just one of those 80s films that's like, what's the story? It's gross. Yeah. No story, it's just gross. We had things happening, and it had a following. Would you think there would ever be a point if you didn't have to worry about asking folks for money to do your projects? Would you ever consider taking Attack of the Herbals and giving it a modernized retreatment with big budget, big effects? I'm just curious because it's like I said, there's a lot of this stuff, murmurings going on in the great land of Hollywood remakes. People are looking to go back to their first projects.
I mean, I would like to think I would say no, but yeah, if some guy came up to me and said, "I'll give you $10 million to remake the movie," I would probably be remaking the movie. I don't know. As I get older, it's fun to reminisce on the stuff I've done. It's quite nice when you make a movie because in a couple of years, you look back and all that.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that was the year we made that movie. But I don't know. There's something about you just have to keep pushing forward. I can understand why they probably want to do it with bigger movies because there's a revenue stream there. But the kind of movies I'm doing now, I'd rather not do it. But if they give me enough money, I would definitely do it.
Good answer.
There we go. Would you keep the Nazi bit in? Or would you put that back
I would have to go even harder.
Oh,
even
nice.
More Nazis.
Oh, God.
Dead or Nazis.
Yeah. More blood. I have to watch that movie back. I haven't watched it back in years and years.
It's delightful if you haven't forgotten. It
I'm too scared to watch it back.
Well, I don't know if you remember.
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I don't know if you remember. There is a high octane little scooter chase in the film.
Yeah, I do remember that because I put that on TikTok recently, actually. I found a clip and I put it on TikTok.
Yeah, in that episode, we went on that for like 10 minutes. The beauty of that chase. It's wonderful.
I still remember filming that because he was literally tied the wheelchair to it with a rope to like a Jeep. So dangerous. Even though he was going slow, he was still. We're on like a cliff edge as well to the left of him. Oh God! You think back. Yeah.
Wonderful.
A lot of questionable stuff happened in that movie.
Oh, and I'm sure you were all fully insured and everything, above board with everything.
I remember there was a scene where there was a guy called Danny the Pincer, and he was on a forklift. And he told us, "Oh yeah, I've driven forklifts before." And he went through this village and he nearly hit every car. It's so cool. I was like, oh my God. I would have been bankrupt back then. Wow. Yeah. That's the things you do, I guess, when you're kind of young, making movies. But yeah, my kids are going to see that film one day. Wow.
That'll be fun.
Should have when they get to that point, you should have like a little watch party with them.
Yeah.
You're going to see this one day, so let's make it a thing.
In hindsight, if I'd taken out all the foul language, it probably would have been like more like a kiddie movie in a weird way.
Yeah.
Minus the Nazis and all that. But
yeah, those don't fit in kids' films very well. Although, I don't know, Looney Tunes and Warner Brothers, they pretty heavy on that for Bugs Bunny and everything. So, I don't know. I guess,
I know.
Perceptions change over time.
Yeah.
That's it. Even from 2011, when we shot that movie or whatever, to now, you would never shoot a movie like that.
No.
That would be what you were talking about way at the beginning. Literally over. If you were to do that today, that would be your first and last film, and nobody would even know it.
Yeah,
it would just get.
Okay, so we've taken up an awful lot of your time, but
that's okay. That was great.
I have one more question, that I like to ask everybody, and I think we've probably asked it before, but I think answers change maybe over the years. But if you could give one piece of advice to like an aspiring filmmaker, what would that be?
I mean, yeah, obviously the old cliche, never give up. But I find that people that want to make movies, they always end up finding a way to do it, regardless. So I think, the advice is if you really love it, just, do it. We used to have an old saying back here in Scotland, you'd have film spectators and filmmakers. You'd have the people that always talked about it, and then you had the people that were like, regardless of how bad it's going to be, I'm going to go out and make it. So it's deciding which one of them you want to be, kind of thing.
Nice.
I like that.
I'm gonna steal that. Well, it fits in. It's like I said, there are people who talk about making the movies, and then there are people who make the movies. So we always give credit that this person, out of the thousands who are never going to make a movie, this person did it, good or bad. And you can't take that away from them. And that's always a lesson.
Yeah.
Even if it's truly terrible.
Exactly.
Yeah, there've been a couple.
Yeah.
What anything you want to leave with? So Primal Games is out there. I think we watched it. Did we watch it on Tubi? Or did we?
Is it on Tubi?
We rented it, I think.
We rented it or we buy it?
I don't remember.
I think we bought it.
We figured out how to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope people eventually find it. We had like a dispute with a PR company. The distributor changed PR companies, and the film came out. There was no PR. Let's put it that way. They put the trailer on a couple of sites. There was no reviews, no articles, zero. So, I mean, the film it's out there, but people don't even know it's there. We even had to set up our own letterbox page for it.
Oh, really?
Which was great.
Oh, okay.
So according to IMDb, it is on Prime Video for rent or purchase.
It's on Apple TV, Fandango, Prime, X. It's on it's basically everywhere. But the problem is people don't really know it exists.
It's not getting any time on ads or for other shows and stuff.
No, it just it doesn't exist.
That's so unfortunate because it's so fun.
Well, we'll make some pushes.
Well,
I think I think it comes out in Tubi in maybe a month or something. So once it goes on there, it'll start getting some title awareness. But it was kind of weird. So it's ongoing, let's put it that way, with our PR problem.
Okay.
We ain't going to let it go.
No.
Yeah, that's so.
But we get charged a lot of money for the PR.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would expect some PR, I would think.
It felt like they pushed I Am Rage pretty hard, but.
Oh, I mean, the last company was so different. They're like, there's no one in your movie. It's an indie film. So title awareness, we are going to put it everywhere.
Yeah.
So by the time it comes out, people might, oh yeah, I've seen that title. I'll give it a go.
Right.
As with this other PR person, she was like, well, it's different now. Netflix does it like this. We're going to release the trailer 1 week before the film comes out. And we're like, what? And lo and behold, we didn't realize that that's all she was going to do. Just put the trailer out a handful of sites. And then, that's me done. See you later, guys.
Jesus. Well, we'll see if we can't push. We'll push in different episodes on things. Because, I mean, that's what we do. And like I said, you're not going to make millions, and they're not going to come storming the gates, but we can get a dozen people to see it and talk about it, and my boss is going to be watching Redwood Massacre. Was talking to her in a meeting, and we get onto something and horror movies, and I asked if she'd seen it. She said no. I said, go get it. You're gonna love it. I know she will. So that'll get around. That's all you can do, unless
It's still going. It's unbelievable. We actually are going to sign up with the comic, so it's going to come out as a comic series, Redwood Massacre, worldwide.
Oh, nice.
So
that's fun.
It just will not die. It's kind of funny.
Next thing you know,
To
they'll
think
have
just
it.
putting it
You'll get
burlap
it.
and dungarees.
Well,
Next thing you know, you'll have a TV show about burlap.
maybe.
Oh, well,
I don't know. I mean, we tried telling you way in the beginning. Redwood Massacre is really, really good. It hit all the marks. It was funny to us in certain points, not like because something was bad or silly, but just the way Ben portrayed that silent mass and just the looks with no expressions other than the mass. Everything worked so well. It hit all the tick marks, and it satisfied the traditional stuff. It satisfied the new stuff. It had a new look and feel to it. The penis in the jar thing, that was just a thing. That didn't factor into it.
That happened in the second one as well, and funnily enough, I've managed to get it in the third one.
Nice.
I thought, why not? Let's.
It's always good to have a through line.
I hope the third one does get made, because I think I might have just got it right. Like learned from the first one, learned from the second one, and I think I've got there in the middle with this one where it might be received a bit better. So I hope they finally pull the trigger on it.
So do we want to see this and the comics. Yeah. I mean, we're gonna have to keep us on the schedule here and let us know when something's coming out, because I love comics. I don't know. Well, turn your camera up a little bit.
Turn my camera up a little bit.
Show the boxes. There you go. So those are my comics boxes. Used to be an avid collector as a kid. Oh, you can't see her? That's right.
I only see you. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's the problem, because her. Go ahead. Unmute.
Oh no, it's gonna get echoey, and you're recording this. I'm not doing that.
No, just do it and say hi, and it'll give you your camera. And then mute.
Hello.
I see it.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so her actual Zoom mic is muted. It's all going into the thing, so her thing doesn't show up. But anyway, yeah, love comics, so I can't wait to add those to the collection.
Yeah, I'm curious myself.
See what we come up with.
You know what? The budget for their comics is more than the movie.
Really?
So yeah. Wow. I think they're doing like 5 indie movies. So Redwood Massacre is one. So the 5 together, it's like over $100,000 to produce the comic.
Wow.
So yeah, I look forward to see what they do, I guess.
Cool.
But if not, guys, I'll send you the script for the third one. You can burn it outside in your garden if you ever get too cold.
Oh, we'd love to see it. Absolutely.
It does get cold around here sometimes. So
I mean, that
exactly.
does too.
There you go. That my script's fully served dual purpose.
So, David, before we head out of this interview, what do you want to plug? Where can people go to find all your cool stuff?
You know what? Right now, I'm doing amazing on TikTok. If they can find me on TikTok, it's great. It's just Clear Focus Movies.
Okay.
I've kind of, I do quite good on YouTube, but the interaction on TikTok is just so much better than YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because it's going to change in the US soon and change here. But in the meantime, we're getting lots of interaction, comments, and all that kind of stuff. So if people do TikToking, come find us.
Clear Focus Movies. Perfect. All right. Well, David, again, thank you for your time. It's been too long. We've really missed the whole journey of everything that you've been doing. And hopefully we'll be talking more again. Maybe even get you and Liam on for another 4.5 hour marathon.
Yeah. Liam would definitely do it.
We'd love to have you guys on as a team again.
Even like Hannah and all that, they would love to talk and all that. So if you ever run out of people.
Yeah. I will reach out to you about that, because that's just before we took our break that we were getting things set up with Hannah, basically the ladies from I Am Rage.
Oh God! Oh yeah.
Remember that? And we were just
Yeah.
like starting to get, and then it was just like everything started happening. Like, okay, we can't, because it was going to be weeks out before we could do it. But anyway, yeah, we'll get some of that put together and
Amazing.
give everyone their due, and apologize to her in person for being so stupid with her name and pronouncing it. We're just trying to cover bases.
Well, thanks, Guy.
Yeah.
Appreciate you taking the time to do this as well.
Oh,
So-
anytime. Anytime you want to talk to us, we're totally down for it.
Yep, we'll set it up.
So
All
like
right.
2 in the morning, I can just give you a call. I'll be
Yeah.
like, I've got
I mean,
a problem
we-
to leave him up.
I can't guarantee the quality of the setup at 2 a.m. if you just wake me up, but I'll get something going. All right.
Yeah, Guy, I know genuinely. Thanks for doing it. 'Cause I know it's like making movies, podcasts, and all that. You got to set it up, and so
Well,
hopefully people
this is the kind of
listen
stuff
to
that
it.
makes it worth it. So, all right. Well, we will let you get back to it. And B-Siders.
Until next week, this is Danny.
And this is Jim. And we're out.